I am so happy this morning that we had the opportunity to honor some of the fantastic staff from Camp B'nai Ruach who made such a safe and welcoming home for our CBI kids this summer. The story of the past couple of years has included, I don't have to tell you, so much disconnection and disruption, so much fun deferred. Many of our smallest kids don't really even remember the world of the before times. And I've got to say, that made it all the more magical to come to work every day for the last 5 weeks and to see dozens and dozens of kids and CITs and counselors playing and singing and generally having a total blast being together. There was one kid among the more than 120 who participated this summer who may have needed camp even a little bit more than all the rest. You may not know this, but Camp B'nai Ruach was host to a first grader named Zuha, who, along with her family, arrived in Orange County just 3 months ago as refugees from Afghanistan. Due to the leadership of our social action co-chairs, Paul Maddock and Debbie Sklar-Bleeker, and of course our unstoppable youth director, Sherry Galanti, we were able to welcome this little girl with open arms. She got to visit the Orange County Fair and to hang out on the beach, to learn to play Gaga and to sing the Princess Pat, and to dance yesterday right here on the Bima quite beautifully during yesterday's talent show to nothing else but Frozen's Let It Go. I think there were 5 different acts yesterday, all featuring Frozen's Let It Go. And then I went home and watched Frozen with my daughter. But it was lovely. She was up here dancing her heart out on the Bima while about 100 kids chanted her name. I am so proud of us at CBI that when the call came of whether we could welcome a child from a refugee family to our camp, there was no question and no pushback about whether we would step up and make it happen. With a couple of emails in really a couple of minutes, it was done. I feel it was just one more reminder of how deeply the values of welcoming and inclusion run in this community, and a confirmation, as though I needed yet another one, of how very blessed I am to now get to be a part of it full time. This Shabbat morning, I want to speak a little bit about refugees, like Zuha and her family. As most of us already know, the scope of the global refugee problem today is unprecedented. The UN estimates there are nearly 30 million refugees today in the world, about the same as the population of the state of Texas. Add to that another 55 million internally displaced persons, and the number is staggering. Put another way, 1 in every 88 human beings alive today is on the run in search of safety. 1 in every 88 human beings on the planet, around half of them children. It is a moral and humanitarian crisis of the highest order. The plight of a person seeking refuge has always been a profoundly Jewish issue. This week's Torah portion instructs us that as soon as we cross into the Promised Land, one of the very first things we are to do is to designate 6 arei miklat, 6 cities of refuge. Before we build a temple, before we appoint a king, before we even finish in the conquest and settlement of the land, we are already being required to turn our attention to creating safe havens for those who need to be resettled under our community's protection. Now, the original purpose of the biblical cities of refuge was to shelter those who, through tragic accidents, had inadvertently taken a life. We're talking about the builder whose axe head unexpectedly separated from the handle and hit the person next to him. About the baker whose ovens caught fire and watched in helpless grief as the fire spread into the neighborhood. In the harsh world of the ancient Near East, such people faced near certain brutal retribution from the family of the deceased. And so the Torah commands that a person who has been the accidental cause of death must flee to one of these 6 cities where they are to be kept safe from all harm. Their lot is not an easy one, but at least they have the possibility of starting over. The Talmud expands upon the Torah's laws, mandating a series of ancient construction ordinances regarding the establishment of safe routes of passage into these cities. All roadways, for example, which feed into cities of refuge, were required to be built double wide, 32 cubits instead of 16 cubits. Special attention and even special taxes were levied to pay for constructing bridges over any obstacle that might hinder a person's speedy journey to safety. All crossroads leading up to those cities had to be marked in giant letters with the words "Sanctuary, Sanctuary," so that there would be no doubt. In sum, the community had an obligation to make sure that a person fleeing for their safety had a way which was as wide, as easy, and as clear as possible to make their way. Of course, as my former rabbinical school classmate, Rabbi Jacob Fine, commented on this Talmudic passage in an essay for American Jewish World Service, quote, "If our tradition displays such overt concern for people who have taken a life, even if entirely unintentionally, how much the more so should we feel compelled to protect those tens of millions who are seeking refuge today, the vast, vast majority of whom are completely innocent bystanders to violence perpetrated by others, driven from their homes by situations entirely outside of their control." Of course, our tradition's concern for the displaced and the dispossessed goes much, much deeper than just the set of laws found in this week's reading. After all, what is our entire Torah but essentially a road story of a group of people fleeing persecution, seeking a place where their wanderings can finally come to an end? We say at our Seders, "Arami Oved Avi," my father was a wandering Aramean. Since the opening chapters of our story, we have been on the move, confronted with harsh wilderness, with tremendous dangers, hanging on to the hope against hope for a promised land where we could rest our weary bodies and our weary souls. With nothing more than the clothes on our back and our bread not yet risen, we set into the Sinai, and we suffered, and we doubted whether we would ever see freedom, but we never stopped moving forward. This week's Parsha records the 42 camps along the way. It was a long journey, a zigzagging journey, but a journey that we made together. Ultimately, I believe that we face down the desert with the ferocity of those who don't just seek something better for themselves. Nearly all those who set out, of course, were destined to die in the wilderness. But of that special ferociousness that comes when we struggle for our children, for our grandchildren, to know a different kind of life. That's the story, I'm sure, that my great-great-grandparents knew when they put my great-grandmother on a rickety boat in steerage class and sent her across an ocean knowing that they would never see her again, but trusting that the Golden Medina, the golden land on the other side of the sea, would keep her safe from the ravages of Europe. It was the indomitable spirit of those survivors of history's darkest hour who made their way to rebuild the land of Israel, and in so doing reclaimed a portion of their stolen dignity. It's the story in more recent decades of Persian Jews forced to flee their home of 2,000 years when it transformed overnight into a terrifying theocracy, of Russian refuseniks, of the Ethiopian and Yemenite airlifts. B'chol dor v'dor chayav adam lirot et atzmo Iluhu yatzam mimitzrayim. In every generation, we are obligated to see ourselves as having personally come out of Egypt, and in almost every generation of the Jewish story, some of us have. Our people know in our blood and in our bones and in our DNA what it is to set forward with a dream of liberation and a hope against hope that God or someone will have our backs in the process. For such a people who knows this truth so deeply and so personally, we cannot possibly sit on the sidelines as tens of millions of souls, each equally made in the image of our Creator, flee Syria, flee Afghanistan, and particularly today, Ukraine. We know their story because it is our story, and we are commanded to make double wide the road that leads to places of refuge. We are blessed in our community with an active and wonderful social action committee, beautifully led, as I noted, by Paul and Debbie. They have set as one of their goals this year that CBI should become more deeply involved in the helping of some of the most vulnerable people on earth to find home and haven among us. They've been in touch with the Orange County Jewish Coalition for Refugees, of which CBI is a charter partner, who have meaningful and practical guidance for those things that we can do over the course of this coming year to meet that challenge. If this mission speaks to your soul or to your story, I invite you after Shabbat to be in touch with Paul and Debbie or with me. We intend between now and the high holidays to convene a conversation about ways that we can be of service. I am so excited for what this generous and good-hearted community will be able to do together. For 2 weeks this summer, we provided refuge in every possible sense of the word for a sweet child who deserves what every child ought to have, a joyful and safe place to be a kid. In the journey of supporting those who have had their lives turned upside down by war and violence, who so desperately want the same kind of peaceful place to raise their families that we all want for ours, giving one little girl a couple of weeks of fun is just a baby step. But it is a step. May this be the start for us of putting one foot in front of another. May we walk together forward to do the work that our tradition and our conscience calls us to do. May we not just walk, may we run. Shabbat Shalom.